I started out at Duolingo. I was not a head of growth. They hired me as like this person to do Brazil and then Argentina, Mexico, and it was working. So they kept asking me like, can you grow us in Europe? And I was 25. At this time it was 27. So I was like, yeah, of course. And I had no idea what I was doing. Growth at the time wasn't quite like a product-led growth, experiment-based, like A/B testing thing for me. I was just like figuring out how to make Duolingo become as well known as possible all over the world with PR and partnerships and whatever worked, which had worked for Tumblr before. I remember this conversation very clearly because Luis and Severin, co-founders of Duolingo, came to me and said, our investors are telling us that we need someone to be head of growth, because Luis was head of growth until then. Like, he was the one who was just like, he had all the metrics in his head. And we thought of hiring someone externally, but you're helping us grow so much, maybe you should be the head of growth. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do it. And then I went back to my desk and Googled, what is growth? Like, what is growth? And then startup, and I found Andrew Chen's blog, and I started reading Andrew Chen's blog. And like, that's when I was like, yeah, I can do this. But it was just me and one engineer. That's all they gave me, and one back-end engineer. And so you can't do much when it's just you and one back-end engineer. So we started thinking, like, what can we do that doesn't require any designs? We decided to test notifications. And Luis and Severin were both like, no, you should not test with notifications, because we have already tested with notifications a lot and we have optimized them. Go do something else. And we were like, but almost everyone who uses Duolingo gets notifications. So we're still going to see if we can do something about it. And I'm a really good writer. That's one thing I can do. So I was like, I can write copy like from like the perspective of the owl, and from the perspective of the user, and the perspective of like the Duolingo like leader. And it actually was extremely high ROI. Even though they had already optimized, we were able to derive great results. And so the lesson that I would highlight there, when you find an inflection point and something that you know has an effect on the growth of your startup, it's worth doubling down on that versus just trying to figure out what else. And that works not just for things that worked, but also for things that worked really negatively. So if you do an experiment and like it really harms you, that means that you found an inflection point, and you might as well keep testing.
What does that mean? Why would you want to dig deeper into the pain of something that doesn't work?
Well, it's not pain if you're learning, is how I view it. An experiment fails if you are not able to reach any results. If you're not able to get to statistical significance, or if you did and you actually saw no meaningful results. That's a huge failure. You learned very little, and now you have to go and start again. But if you run an experiment with statistical significance and it harmed your product, that means that you found a moment that really matters to users. And if you found a moment that really matters to users, you can manipulate it in multiple ways, for positive and for negative.